Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors and let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. 'Cause I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand, lending a hand. So swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine.
Good morning. Today and every day, we swing wide the doors to the presence of God, knowing that Spirit is in this place and in all places and all people. And just as this beautiful sun has awakened us to a new day, the Spirit of God within awakens us to divine glory. And this glory within and all around us is everywhere we look and in every situation we encounter. With our hearts centered in Spirit, we can quiet our thoughts and meditate on the wonder of all of God's creation and our oneness with it. So I invite you now to take a deep breath. Become comfortable and gently release any cares of the day, because your sole purpose at this moment is to experience the divine. And you begin to do so now as you relax into this sacred time and space at Unity Spiritual Center. Seeing through eyes of oneness, acknowledging our oneness, we at Unity Spiritual Center celebrate and honor people of every culture, of every creed, of every religion, of every race, of every age, and every lifestyle, knowing that there are many paths to God, many faces of God, many names for God, but only one God. And that God is expressing through all people in unique, special, and individual ways. You know, sometimes when you see something occur more than once, you start to forget the true meaning behind it. And as you know, if you've been here before, we light this worship candle every Sunday. And we do it as a symbol to remind you that as you see that flame, you remember that you yourself are a flame of God. You carry that divine spark within, that you are an individualized expression of God. We honor the one presence and power of God with Unity's foundation statement, which you'll find behind me on the screen, and I invite you to join me in saying it aloud together. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as my life. God the good, omnipotent. We give thanks for our spiritual community and for the beauty of our spiritual center. We give thanks that Unity Spiritual Center is a welcoming, warm, and inclusive community dedicated to studying and putting into practice empowering principles and tools for happiness, health, prosperity, and successful living. We give thanks that with our spiritual teachings, we can create extraordinary lives and a peaceful planet through our relationship with the loving God presence within each of us and through our relationships with each other. Our vision and the opportunity for each one of us here is that you discover the power within you to create the life of your dreams, that you have peace of mind and deep happiness, that you enjoy joyous and loving relationships with yourself, with spirit, and with others, that you spend your days doing what you love and feel called to do, and most of all, that you know that your life matters, that you make a difference, and that the world is a better place because you're here. If you're visiting us for the first time, and I think we have at least one visitor here, you should have received the gifts. Did you get the chalet that we give out? We're going to have Ethel bring you a gift. This is what we give to people who are visiting us for the first time, and it has a tag on it that says, just as God has a design for every shell in the sea, God also has a design for your life. We also give out packets of information that have information about Unity in general and Unity Spiritual Center in particular. And in that packet of information, you'll find my contact information. So if you or anyone here, whether you're here for the first time or for the 1000th and first time, just know that I always welcome conversations, and I'm always happy to have a talk with you about anything you'd like. So as we move into the meditative portion of our service and prepare to raise our voices together in song, if you haven't done it already, please do turn off your cell phones and any other electronic devices. And with that, I'll pass it over to Michael.
Good morning. This one is a meditative chant. If we see it on the screen, you'll see it goes through several little lyrics. So I will teach it to you, and we get to just think about it while we sing it until we move on to the next line. So you'll have a chance to kind of sink in. You can even close your eyes once you've got your lyrics under control and just kind of let this music go where it needs to go. And it sounds like this. I'll sing it once. I'm opening to the spirit of love. Pretty easy. I'm opening to the spirit of love. I'm opening to the spirit of love. I'm opening to the spirit of love. And I'll play the next phrase. Let thy love flow through me. 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 Let thy love next phrase. Let thy love flow through me. Let thy spirit set me free. Let thy love flow through me. Let my spirit set me free. Let my love flow through me. Let thy spirit set me free. Let thy love flow through me. Let the spirit set me free. Let my love flow through me. Let thy spirit set me free. Let my love flow through me. Let my spirit set me free. Here's the next phrase. I'm opening my heart like a flower to the sun. I'm opening my heart like a flower to the sun. I'm opening my heart like a flower to the sun. I am opening my heart like a flower to the sun. I'm opening my heart like a flower to the sun. I'm opening my heart like a flower to. Here's the first phrase. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening to the spirit of love. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening to the spirit of love. Thank you.
So let us continue that action of opening, or perhaps I should say that allowing of opening. And just continue to get comfortable in your seats, relaxing even more deeply into this time of worship, prayer, and meditation. Again, let's open our hearts and receive the message of today's daily word, which will be read by our board president, Kathy Russell.
And our word for today is joy. Something very nice to open our hearts to. I express the spiritual gift of joy. Happiness can come into my life from the world around me. People, places, events, opportunities. These things are many more make me happy. And that's a good thing. Yet joy is different. Such a small word with a sometimes complicated explanation. It's an essential part of who I am, a spiritual quality that remains unaffected by the corporeal realm. In challenging moments, joy lingers, helping soothe my soul, like all the spiritual qualities that define my Christ presence. I feel it most powerfully when I freely share it with others. When I connect with the eternal substance of joy, I find the strength of spirit to face external events or situations. And the Bible quote for today is, "Then he said to them, 'This day is holy to our Lord, and do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength.'" Nehemiah 8:10. Thank you.
Unity Spiritual Center is a center of prayer and healing. And given all that's going on in our world today, particularly the natural disasters that have occurred in the last week, as we know right now, there are people on the East Coast who are battening down for Hurricane Irma, which has already done some major destruction in the Caribbean. We had an earthquake in Mexico, and of course, there are people who are still grappling with the terrible flooding in Houston. So again, I'm going to read this beautiful prayer by Marianne Williamson and ask that we hold all of those people affected in our hearts right now. Let us pray. Dear God, to the cities and the towns filled with fear, send forth your love. To those whose lives are damaged, send forth your healing. To those in need of help, send forth your helpers. For those who are homeless now, may your arms be the only home they need. Come to them with comfort. Come to them with food. Come to them with shelter. Come to them with hope. Send angels, visible and invisible, to aid them in their time of need. Amen. And as you know, we started a collection last week for the people who have been affected by Hurricane Harvey. Obviously now there are other communities affected, so we will leave the donation window open, and we will be listening for the best organizations to donate to for those affected by Hurricane Irma as well. And as you know, if you've been here before, we have a community prayer chest that we have in the back of the sanctuary along with prayer request forms. It's your invitation always to leave a prayer request in that box. You'll find the request forms printed on green paper. But right now, let's hold all the prayers that are in that box in our hearts, the prayers that are written and the prayers that are unwritten. Let us just take a moment now to think of all people who are represented by those prayers and know with and for them that divine love is enfolding them and that divine order is taking place in all of their lives. The prayer requests that are placed in that box are prayed on by me and our USC prayer team for 30 days. And then we forward them to Silent Unity at Unity's World Headquarters, where they are prayed on for an additional 30 days. As I mentioned, there are prayer request forms on green paper that are available, and you are always invited to fill out a prayer request and place it in the box. But we have a lovely time in our service where we make our prayers audible. So this is the time when we open ourselves up as a community to say and hear our prayer requests. And we do this so that we can stand with you and support you. So after we've sung the introduction to this song, which is a call and response, you are invited to speak your prayer requests aloud, and we will answer each prayer request by singing "Your Prayer is My Prayer Too."
We are connected by the heart. Where do you end? Where do I start? Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me, is my prayer too. Your prayer is my prayer too. I have my first prayer right out of the gate. I have several friends in Florida, so I just like to keep in mind my friends Keith, my friends Bob, my friend Steve, and my brother's condo. Your prayer is my prayer too. 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 Your prayer is my prayer too.
We give thanks for this time to bless and to be blessed in spirit. We give thanks for the feelings of connection, of warmth, of peace that fill our hearts and our minds right now. We give thanks for the privilege of praying for others in our community, in our nation, and around the globe. And we affirm that always, no matter what appearances are, divine love and divine order is everywhere present. At Unity Spiritual Center, your prayer is our prayer too. Amen.
I have some guest percussionists today. We actually rehearsed. Freedom to worship, freedom to pray to the one and only. You choose the way. Give thanks for the blessings, forgive what you must. This is your right in which you can trust. Every breath you breathe is yours for the taking. Every change of mind is yours for the making. Everything you do is yours for the doing. Every gift of love is yours for the giving. For freedom to worship, freedom to pray to the one and only. You choose the way. Give thanks for the blessings, forgive what you must. This is your right in which you can trust. Follow the path that you will create. Say what you will, believe in your faith. This is the reason we live where we live. Send up your prayers and learn to forgive. And freedom to worship, freedom to pray to the one and only. You choose the way. Give thanks for the blessings, forgive what you must. This is your right in which you can trust. Freedom to worship, freedom to pray to the one and only. You choose the way. Give thanks for the blessings, forgive what you must. This is your right in which you can trust. Freedom.
Us. Well, good morning and welcome. This is what we're calling our Homecoming Sunday. Why are we calling it that? Because it's the beginning of September and most people have concluded their traveling for the summer, for Labor Day. And it's our opportunity just to welcome everybody back. I see some people who are old friends, some people who are new friends. It's really great to see you. And one of the reasons we wanted to call you here is just to let you know what's going on in the fall. We have all of our fall calendar scheduled now, and you should have received a piece of paper when you walked in that lists all of those events. So we hope that you will join us for some or all of them. because they're going to be wonderful. The first one to bring to your attention is the music concert, the fall concert, which we're having in just a few short weeks. It's going to be on Sunday, October 1st. It's featuring Karen Drucker, Michael Hatfield, and friends. It's always an incredible time, a very fun event, and you are going to want to plan to be here. And as I said earlier during our time of prayer, fun events are not what we've been seeing in the news lately. We really have been through it as a nation. As I mentioned just in the last week, right now, we've got brothers and sisters, literal brothers and sisters, and of course spiritual brothers and sisters on the East Coast who are wondering what this is going to do in their lives. And we have people in the Texas area, Marcy will speak to that a little bit later, whose lives have been completely upended by the hurricane that we had in the last couple of weeks. So not a lot of fun times, does it feel like? You know, you add that to the feeling of unrest and political divisiveness that seems to be coming up in our nation, and it just doesn't seem like this is a time where things feel really stable, right? Don't you kind of feel like we're being buffeted by winds, you know, literal and metaphoric, that this is a time when it's hard to keep our center. And interestingly, we're looking at the power of order in this month. And if you were here last week, you heard me speak a little bit to it, that it seems to be relevant to this time, because the power of order is basically our capacity to sequence things in our lives to what we feel is the best order, the best sequence, the best steps to take. And in our study guide for September, we read that to develop divine order in our lives, we must learn to cooperate with spiritual law. It is the secret that will make our lives happy, harmonious, and balanced. And the writer of this went on to say, and you can find the whole essay in the study guide, we must first work on ourselves. Actually, I'm going to say that in a slightly different way. We must first work on ourselves, and then from harmonious, happy feelings within, bring forth God ideas into our immediate environment. So that's the call. That's the formula for creating order in our lives. But it can feel really hard to do that when we're feeling off balance, can't it? You know, it can feel really hard to bring forth God ideas when we're living lives that by any measure are complex in this 21st century. And then you add on to it what we're hearing in the news. So given that, what can we do? You know, what can we do to begin to center ourselves? How can we make our lives more happy, harmonious, and balanced? How can we cooperate with spiritual law? Well, I'm happy to report to each one of you here that you are doing one thing right now, and that is we can go to church, right? We're here as a community right now, so you are doing an extremely important thing by just being here, because we are a spiritual center, and that is our purpose for being. That is the reason we're here. We're here as a gathering place where we can support each other, where we can bolster each other, where we can be together and figure out by learning our tools, by practicing our tools, how we can be a light, how we can stay centered and be a light in our world. And do you remember the words that we all spoke at the end of last service, the last Sunday service? They were 2 words, and everybody spoke them. Do you remember what they were? Anybody? God first. Very good, Reuben. God first. That's right. And that's why we're here. We're here so we can remember to put God first. Because that's what we all need help doing, especially in these times when we feel so off center, off balance. And one of our board members, Candy Corbett, who's back there, found an article by a guy named Rick McDaniel in the Huffington Post that she shared with the board. And the title of the article was 5 Reasons to Attend Church Regularly. Those reasons included that it's a positive example, and the gentleman pointed out that it's a positive example not only for your kids, but for your friends, for your workplace associates, your family. It's a positive example to show that you have a commitment that is leading you to live a better life. That is a positive example that people can follow. Another reason given was that it's important for fellowship, right? I mean, yeah, we can live stream a sermon when we're in our pajamas in front of our computer, but it's kind of hard to get fellowship that way, right? We're here together. We're here as a body. And what the article said was we all run into various kinds of challenges, and we heard some of them today during our prayer time. We all run into various kinds of challenges: health problems, financial issues, conflict within our families. We have an opportunity to encourage one another, and that is part of what church is about. A place where we can come together to encourage each other, to learn from each other, to inspire each other. And one of the most important reasons he gave for coming to church regularly was it is essential for growth. It's essential for spiritual growth. And I'll repeat that word again, essential. Now, we may think that we can tend to our own spiritual growth, again, by staying in our pajamas, reading a good book, maybe taking a class, whatever it happens to be. And yes, those are ways to grow. But to really grow is to come together as a community and to feel part as a community. And what he said in the article was, make regular church attendance your first priority, and let it be a good habit that becomes part of who you are. You know, it's really interesting. I talk to people who come on a regular basis, and they'll say, it's just who I am. It's just part of what I do. I would not think of not coming. It's what I do. And then he concluded, nothing does more for your spiritual health than regularly being in church. Now, there are people here who wouldn't miss for the world, and when they do, it's for a really good reason. And I just want to underscore that we need each other. We need each other. We're here for each other. And when someone doesn't come, they are missed. They are missed. You may think some Sunday morning, oh, well, it doesn't really matter if I come. It does matter. It does matter. It makes a difference to the person walking in for the first time. And we do have someone who's a first-timer here. But when a first-timer walks in and they see 25 people, I can't, although I have been tempted to, say, well, but there are 20 to 35 other people who come. They just didn't come today. They don't know that. They don't know that there are other people in our community. And it matters to someone who may need your smile, you know, who may just need you to pay attention to them because they're having a really hard day. And it makes a difference to all of us as a collective, because we each bring special and individual gifts. I'm going to get a glass of water for this. Now, it's no secret that church attendance is on the decline. It's on the decline in the United States in every denomination that we know of, except some evangelical churches and some Catholic churches. But if you Google church attendance, you will see that across the board, the numbers are plummeting. And that's another reason why it's so important to come regularly. Our own numbers have gone down. You know, a lot of churches are grappling with it. It's not just ours. But here's the reality of the situation. There have been Unity churches in this area that have closed. In the last 3 years, Unity churches in Berkeley, in Santa Cruz, in Fremont have closed. And I know of another church in the East Bay that's struggling right now. So this is not a theoretical thing. This is not something that could happen. This does happen. Churches close. If there's not enough people, if there's not enough support, a church will close. Yeah. So if we love our community, if we love a place, we need to support it. You know, we can't just assume that it's going to be there waiting for us whenever we decide is a good time to show up. We need to make a commitment to contributing to its strength and its health by being active in our communities. And that means active attenders, active recruiters, active givers. You know, Brian said something I thought was so great. Last Tuesday night at the end of our class, we were talking, and Brian said, you know, this is an invitation. We have an invitation here. And if you keep turning down the invitation, sooner or later, you're not going to have it anymore. I thought that's really true. We have an incredible invitation here. And as I've talked about before, particularly in the wake of what happened in Charlottesville, we are at a changing time. We are at a changing time in society. We are at a changing time as individuals. This is time when we need to get really clear about who we are and what we want to stand for in the world. We don't have the luxury anymore of just kind of sitting back and thinking that we don't count. Every person is needed. And as I mentioned in one of those talks, I went to Chautauqua Institution this summer, and two of the keynotes there were very urgent, I would say. They were very clear and they were very urgent about the need to create intentional communities. Intentional communities. That was what they felt was going to save us, basically. It was going to make a difference, to turn the tide, to create a society we all feel really proud to be a part of. Because intentional communities can help us. They support us. They bolster us when we're not feeling as strong. They inspire us. We're proud to be a part of an intentional community. So what I want to ask you is, what kind of intentional community do you want to be a part of here? What kind of intentional community do you want USC to be? And when you walked in the door, you also got reflection questions, right? Does everybody have a list of reflection questions? So I'm going to give you the time to take a look at that and to jot down some notes. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes now. Does anybody need a pen? Because if you do, we can pass those out. Shannon needs one, Ethel, and looks like Joni does. Yeah. Lisa, did you need a pen? You got, yeah. Lisa does over here too. Yeah, perfect. So as Michael plays his beautiful music, we're going to give you about 3 minutes. And what I want to do, what I want you to think about here is that this is an invitation. This is a direct invitation. This is saying, you're here today. You obviously love this place. What do you want us to do as we move forward during this very important time in our individual history, in our national history, and in our history as a collective? So we'll give you a couple of minutes for that. So does everybody have at least a beginning to that? Nod your head if yes. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little more time too. You can keep working on it as we continue. What I'd like you to do is to leave them in the baskets that are in the back. You can sign your name or not, but there is a big basket in the back that you can, there you go. Thank you for the visual aid, Brian, that you can leave them in as you go later this afternoon. Now, I want to ask you about whether or not you've heard about this concept called the Pareto principle. How many people have heard about that? Okay, so just a handful. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. It's a management concept. And basically the concept is that 20% of the people in an organization do 80% of the work. Now you know what that means. That's right.
There was a name for that.
Yeah, there is actually a name for that. Now, that's a concept, and that's true in for-profit corporations. It's true for nonprofit organizations like ours. It's been true here. There are about 20% of the people who are giving 80% of the volunteer time, of the love offerings, of the attendance. And I'd really like to see if we can change that, because it is a different, this is a spiritual community, right? So another way to look at it is, well, if you're one of the 80%, then maybe you're not getting the full percentage of the value you could if you were more involved, right? Because the 20% who are giving, the 20% who are the people showing up, volunteering, doing what they can, will tell you that they get as much, if not more, from their giving than they do from anything else. That there's something about being of service that they find so meaningful. And again, that becomes part of their identity. It's just who they are, and they take pride in being that kind of person. So I just want to say that if you are one of the 80% who is getting more than you give, you might want to spend some time in prayer and reflection about that. And you might want to take another look at the list you just created to see what gifts and talents you could share with the rest of us. Because it's about not just knowing what they are, but actually using them. And a great visual for this, I think. Who here saw the movie Witness with Harrison Ford? Anybody? Witness. It was called Witness with Harrison Ford. It came out in 1985. Wow. Again, I'm like shocked.
I think I did. I just don't remember.
You might have. Okay. Well, I'm gonna describe a scene that may bring. What was that? I think that is true. That's right. I know of at least a few. But what this movie was about, it's one of my favorite movies, and I stayed up late last night watching it. I stayed up till 1 in the morning watching it, and I'm thinking, oh, I shouldn't be watching this movie, but I now know why I did. It is one of my favorite movies, and the basic story is that it's about a Philadelphia cop who is protecting a young Amish boy who witnesses a murder. And so in order to protect him, he has to go live on the Amish farm in Lancaster County. So it's a real window into the world of the Amish, and the scene in it that gives me goosebumps just to describe it was the scene with the barn raising. Is that ringing a bell for anybody? This incredible scene of the barn raising where the entire community of men comes out and they are constructing this barn for somebody, just for somebody. It wasn't even a community barn. It was just for somebody, in the community who needed a barn, and so they all came together. And there's this incredibly beautiful scene where you see the silhouettes of probably 30 or 40 men at different places on the scaffolding and in this barn frame, all working together to construct it. It's just an amazing piece. And then it shows how there's something for everybody to do. So the women, and I'm not necessarily encouraging this as a model, but the women are around a quilt, and they're sewing a quilt, and they're making lemonade, and they're serving food. And even the kids have a part to play. That was so cute. There was a scene where the kids are standing up about a yard high and nailing nails in the bottom part of the barn. So everybody had a part to play in this scene, and it happens in the Amish community. And I thought, wow, that is such a great example of what we not only could create, but what we need to create. Not a barn, but that level of participation.
You got the barn.
Yeah, that's right. But that level of participation where everybody's involved and there's something for everybody and everybody's gifts are being used. The Pareto principle is not operational in the Amish community. They don't know what that is. They would never dream to have only 20% of their community doing 80% of the work. It just wouldn't even occur to them. They are an intentional community that is around what they can do for each other, with each other, because their intention is to be of service to each other and to be of service to God. Now, you may be happy to hear me say I'm not suggesting that we become Amish. That's not the point. But my point is that we need to become more intentional. We need to become more intentional. We don't have that luxury of not being anymore. So we need to support each other. We need to work together to create something needed, to create something necessary. Because these teachings, unity teachings, are needed. They are necessary in our world. They are life-changing. We need people to come from a strong spiritual stance, a strong spiritual center, to be the light. This world desperately needs that. And of course, we all are. I'm looking out at beautiful people. I'm looking out at beautiful lights. But we need you and all of those who aren't here now more than ever. We need to come together. We need to spread our light. So I'm going to close with a quotation that I put in my inspirational message. Some of you may have seen it. It's by Tony Kushner. And I think this is where we're at. He said, at every moment in every person's life, there is work to be done. Always work to be done. Some of it small, some of it great. The great work, in a sense, always has to do with healing the world, changing the world, and as a necessary predicate to that, understanding the world. You rise every morning aware that you are called to this work. You may not live to see it finished, but if you can't hear it calling, you aren't listening hard enough. So, there is work for each one of us to do. We are called to this work. We are called to be lights in the world, and let us answer that call. And so it is. Thank you, God. So as Ethel turns down the lights, I'm going to give you a chance to listen. We'll have a chance to listen more deeply to what might be calling us. But first, let us begin by remembering who we are, by singing Holy, Holy, Holy. We'll start with We Are Holy, move to You Are Holy, and end with I Am Holy.
We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy. I
So now, as we move more deeply into our meditation time, just allow yourself to get comfortable, to take a few slow, deep breaths. And if you haven't already, to close your eyes. And now that you're in a relaxed position, I invite you to remember a time, an experience when you knew you had a role to play. To remember a time or situation when you knew with full confidence that you had something to give to others and you gave it. Something that was received as a true contribution, a true blessing. And as you remember that, just note what it was that you gave to others in that memory. Did you give the fruits of a special skill, specialized knowledge, like computer knowledge or counseling? Did you share a particular talent, such as working with children, or playing an instrument, or fixing something? Did you see a need and believe that you had what it took to fill it? And now I invite you to gently ask yourself what it felt like. What did it feel like to act out of that sense that you had a special role to play? Did you surprise yourself? Did it feel good to step into your power and contribute something? And now spend a few moments reflecting on whether there are any places in your life right now where you could play a role or play a larger role. Are there any situations in your life that are calling for you to step out of your comfort zone and play a bigger game? And now I invite you to imagine playing that bigger game. Imagine yourself in the present, taking a bold step to help or to contribute to that situation in your life that you just identified. What would it feel like to show up and play a role, a bigger role in that situation? I invite you also to imagine yourself here at Unity Spiritual Center. What do you bring to our community? And is there anything else that you could bring? Who are you being called to be here as a member of our spiritual community? Who are you being called to be? Know, as we say every Sunday, that you are a unique expression of God. know that through you, God's work can be and is done. You are the vessel through which God speaks and acts. And know now that if you have the inkling to step up in some way, to offer someone or some situation something that is needed, all the courage that you hope for is within you. It is within you now. And know that God wants you to express all the things that you long to express. That God will be with you, is inside you. And that through God, all things are possible. Knowing that, really anchoring that in your body, in your heart, in your mind, that all things are possible. And knowing that you can return to this beautiful inner sanctuary for strength, for illumination, at any time you choose. Begin now to rejoin the outer sanctuary, beginning by moving your fingers or your feet, taking a few slow, deep breaths, and when you're ready, coming back to waking consciousness and opening your eyes. Unity does offer potentially life-changing tools and teachings. We offer a system of positive, practical, progressive spirituality that honors the truth in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. And here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, an exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. And depending on what you reflected on, what you'd like to bring forward, we may be adding more things to that. So please join with me in saying them aloud. Our vision is, centered in God, we co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission is, we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling inspired by our vision, mission, values, by our potential, by our history, feeling enriched by what we've experienced here today and what we're about to experience. Let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through your generous tithes and love offerings. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected today to Unity World Headquarters, and to Habitat for Humanity. As I mentioned earlier, we are also gathering donations for particular organizations to help out with the flood relief in the Texas area, and we will be researching places for you to donate to those in the Florida and Caribbean area. So let's take time now to bless our tithes and love offerings, holding them in our hands, perhaps next to our hearts, as we say our offertory prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you,
God. Let me hear you say, yeah. Do you believe? Can we make this world a better place? That's what I want to hear. All right, who else wants to play some percussion? Because this one can go nuts. This one can go nuts. Please, grab us something. This is a little gospel tune, and I've got an army of percussionists, and you can see the lyrics when we get there to the chorus. I expect you all to sing the chorus. All is well, divine spirit is directing me right now. If you can't remember anything, just remember that all is well, okay? All right, one more time. Can I hear you say yeah? Thank you. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today I declare freedom from yesterday's mistakes of the past. Today all things are made brand new, and don't it feel good? That all is well and unfolding as it should. I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace, joy, and happiness is yours and it's mine. I am loved and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding at a hood? Let me hear you say, all is well, all is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. I said, all is well, all is well, all is well and unfolding as it should. I am cloaked in the Spirit, I am fed by the divine, I am one with all that is, my soul is free from time. I am blessed and so are you, and don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should? Let me hear you say, all is well, all is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. I said, all is well, all is well, all is well and unfolding as it should. I said, all is well, all is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. I said, all is well, all is well, all is well and unfolding as it should. Do you believe? Yeah! Thank you, percussionists. Thank you. That was too much fun. And people call this work. We give thanks for the many blessings that are in our church this very moment. We open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that are ours to choose. We are filled with a mighty faith that empowers and frees us to live our divine purpose and serve our community with excellence. And so it is. Amen.
So I want to thank everybody who's giving service today, including our percussionists, including Leola, our greeter, Brian and Ethel, our ushers, Candy, I know, and Rosa's back, are creating a spread. But I want to tell you about that spread. We, as a board, decided we're going to do something a little different because today is our town hall meeting, and what we used to notice is that people would go out for the food, and we'd never get them back. We never got the people back. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up hospitality right here. You are allowed to eat in the sanctuary because we want you to stay for the town hall meeting. And only people who are staying are going to be served, basically.
Whoa.
Basically, we decided we've got a captive audience and we want to hold on to you. So please do stay for the town hall meeting. We covered some of the issues during the service, but there's more to talk about. And of course, we want to get your good ideas. We know that you've got good ideas too. So I don't think that it's going to be a huge commitment of your time, but we definitely want the commitment of your presence. So that's going to be happening right after we finish, actually, right after we get in a circle. I also am so happy that I'm able to honor somebody who really contributed to the well-being and the beauty of our spiritual center, and that's Helen Yee, who's with us today. She was a recipient of our Shining Star Award. I've been holding it up here for her. So if you don't know what Helen contributed, Exhibit A, Exhibit B, the beautiful artwork that's in our new healing room. I've got a couple things upstairs. We've got a beautiful welcome sign that we just haven't put up yet. That's going to go on the outside of the church. So many beautiful things that you were so kind and generous enough to give us, to add to the beauty of our spiritual center. And we just want to thank you so much for the big difference that made to us. Oh, and yes. And something I told Helen in an email that I'll mention to all of you, I literally bless Helen every single day because she also donated 2 office chairs, upholstered office chairs. And every time I sit down, it's like, bless Helen. So thank you so much. And such a great example of how one person can make a big difference to us and maybe gives you some ideas for ways you too can bless our community. As I mentioned, we're taking donations still for the organizations we identified. Last Sunday, we'll be looking into new organizations. We have kind of retooled our last book study class of the year. So if you haven't come yet, please join us. It was interesting. We, as a small group, decided we just weren't feeling it when we listened to the particular audio and videos that I had selected, and we're really wanting to go a little more deeper in a way that would allow for greater conversation. So we are going to relaunch our book study class this Tuesday night. We're going to study The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist, which is a great book. I see some of you are familiar with it. Lynn Twist is actually a San Franciscan, and I'll see if I can maybe get her in. You never know. But her book is a real treasure and has a lot to say about the joys of giving, and again, how it's an opportunity, it's an invitation, and how we can use our lives in a very exciting and empowering way to directly influence those causes that we feel the most strongly about. So do join us for that. We always have great conversations Tuesday nights through October 24th from 6:30 to 8:30. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. I didn't mention the fall concert. We want you to save that date, save October 1st, but you have the flyer that talks about all the events that are coming up. So read it, mark your calendars. I think at this point, maybe we'll start handing out the second part of our reading material. Ethel and Brian, if you don't mind, we'll start handing out the packets for the town hall meeting. But we'll bring in our kids first, and then we'll get started.
Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Very good. We bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the presence of God in you, empowering you to do great things. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Thank you, God. Thank you for playing, Catherine. It made a difference.